I hope everyone is well. I feel like many people feel like their lives, maybe the Lord can't use them because of their past in their lives and that they don't really have anything to offer. But the thing about the Lord is He's a God of redemption, and He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And He's always about using people that are the least likely candidates because it brings Him the most glory. And I'd like to share about one of His daughters, and her name is Joyce Myers. She's had an impact on my life. And one thing I think about that makes her so special is because of her past. She was sexually molested by her own father most of her life. She said her first conscious memory, she remembers being molested by him. He was an alcoholic, and he didn't really think anything was wrong with it. Apparently, it was a family thing that had been happening, a generational thing in his family that had been happening. So she was obviously traumatized by that. And I work for a women's center, and I deal with women who have been through such traumas. And I think it's just paramount to have a voice for a generation of women who have been through such traumas, because most women these days have. A lot of people, unfortunately, men too, as well. Her main message is a message of hope, that nothing's impossible for the Lord. And she tries to teach people to incorporate biblical principles in all of that they do, to base their lives on scripture, to walk in power and authority and healing, and use the things that the enemy meant for destruction actually for their good and the good of others. She came to the Lord at a young age, at the age of 9, and she felt the presence of the Lord, but she says that she realizes that was the day she got saved, because she actually started getting convicted of sin. However, because of her life, she did fall back into alcoholism and promiscuity until she said that her life became actually a living hell, and she cried out to the Lord for help. And she said that she heard Him call her name, and she knew from that point that He was going to do something. And when she was driving home that night, she said she felt drunk with the love of God. She was actually going to a bowling alley, and she felt like she was drunk in the spirit of the Lord and the love of God. And so she continues to, impact the world. And so after she got touched by the love of God like that, she actually started a Bible study, and then joined a church. When she first joined, it was only 300 members. It's now up to 3,000. She was there for about 5 years, and the Lord told her to go to the north, the south, the east, and the west. And she started her own ministry, and she travels all over the United States. She's written over 70 books. She has conferences to teach people how to live a life based on biblical principles. She was also named Time Magazine's one of the 25 most influential evangelicals in 2005. The power of God is demonstrated through her ministry in a profound way. I actually said earlier that I work at a women's center, and I was actually almost 10 years ago now, I was a patient in that center. I had a battle with addiction and mental illness for 25 years, had major trauma in my life, abuse of all sorts, physical, sexual, spiritual abuse. And I remember before I got saved, my mom would be listening to Joyce Myers on TV, and I would walk in the room and hear her voice, and I just couldn't stand her. And I didn't understand why, obviously. So when I got to Mary Song, which is the place where I work now, one of our contracts, which is the studies that we do, the women do, is Battlefield of the Mind. And I had a little bit of psychology training in college, even though it didn't profit me anything, like I said, because I wasn't saved and I was extremely sick in my mind. And we had to read that book, and I went in thinking that I was already going to know everything that she, had to say. And that book literally was a major vehicle for God to do some major transformation and healing in my mind and the way that I thought and the way that I saw things. So I feel like her books and her experience with the Lord and scripture it reaches out and touches, and it's a healing ministry, healing of the mind, because Jesus wants us to be whole mentally, physically, and spiritually. So mental healing is a major part of God's plan for wholeness for His people. Two elements of her ministry that really impact me are her drive to overcome, her perseverance to overcome her past and what others may think about her because of her past, and her devotion to bring that same healing to other women who are like her, or men. It deeply touches my heart because I think it's so important for not only for us to be changed individually, but then for us to share what the Lord has done in us with other people, because it brings people hope. And it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony of Jesus in our life. So we get saved. The Lord does a work of redemption in us, and we overcome by testifying of that, because we're hearing it again and we're pouring out into other people. And it says those who water will be watered. So I feel like she's a prime example of that, of using what the enemy meant for harm as actually a platform to deliver redemption and hope and healing to other people. And I think that's what it's all about, because the truth of the matter is God uses broken people because that's all that he has. And it says that he came to save sinners. So, if you have a destructive or embarrassing or terrible past, let the redeeming love of Christ come in and touch that place, get healed, and then begin to declare and to others what God has done in your life. I hope to do the same. I'm doing that now in my ministry, which I'm extremely blessed to be able to do. And I pray that the Lord would grant me the ability and the grace to do that until the day that I go home to see him. All right. I hope this blessed you. And remember, nothing's impossible with God. And Jesus really loves those broken ones because he gets all the glory. One thing I want to finish with is that Jesus is even more beautiful when he stands in front of the most dreadful things. So it's like that a diamond shines even brighter in front of darkness. So don't lose hope. Keep pressing in. Trust the Lord, and he uses everything. God bless.